And today we're talking about rest as rebellion as a follow-up to, God only can give you as much as you can bear, right? And these thought terminating cliches and the language that we use in supremacy culture, that is quite literally consistently oppressing and suppressing us in all of the ways. So I just wanted to share how this weekend was beautifully restful, right? Even with all the work that was going on and getting all of the things in order in place, but it came together so beautifully. And everybody came and they had a really good time and we did the work, but it was in a relaxed, restful sort of way, right? So that's going to lead us into the the topic at hand as rest as rebellion, permission to pause. So we have our three talking points. Good morning again, James. Rest is not earned, it's inherited, right? We're getting away from that when we're talking about language and understanding it. Earned, deserved, all of that is a problem because when it says, oh, well, I don't deserve to do this, it means you have to earn it, right? And that takes a capitalistic take on it. And when we're talking about taking it with a capitalistic lens, it means it's an extractive lens, right? Something had to be removed from you, taken from you, depleted damn near for you to be able to say, I've earned rest. But what I am saying is we are worthy of it, right? When I'm like, oh, you deserve good things, it's like you are worthy of those good things, right? Like I want us to get into that. Like you're born. There you go. That's it. What did you do to get rest? Oh, you're breathing. hmm Right? Just like everything else in nature, it doesn't have to perform. It just simply exists in its own purpose, and rest is inherent. Two, rest interrupts supremacy's script. Super important. Again, while we're thinking about language, we need to talk about our our self-talk as well, right? What are you saying to yourself when you are trying to lay down, right? Do you wait until you're just beaten, battered, exhausted, depleted, only when you're sick, after surgery? Are you using what should be rest time, right? Restoration, restorative to recover, right? There's a difference between resting and recovering. And I want us to move away from only taking a time out to recover. We need to be resting in between and interrupting that script in our minds. Sacred stillness creates space for spirit, right? There's so much deeper work when we actually rest. I'm not saying to stop and do nothing. When we can rest, we can integrate the work that we're doing. We have time to sit down and listen to spirit, God, the universe, whatever that feels like to you. But there are whispers in the universe that are reaching out to us. We have time to hear our own thoughts and process. You can't keep talking. You can't keep consuming and scrolling and not sit and pause in the sacredness of that stillness. Okay. So there we go, my friends. All right. One, I need more coffee. Rest is not earned, it's inherited. In grind culture, rest is treated like a reward for productivity, but ancestral and indigenous traditions remind us that rest was never something to earn. It was woven into life through rhythm, ritual, and community. Right? There's a time to sow and a time to reap. There's a time to do these things every season. You have to live your life like that, right? You have to do your work. I know right now it sounds insensitive almost, especially, I'm watching everything that's happening in LA, and I'm not saying not to do anything. I'm saying that if they were out there every single time, all day, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, how long would that resistance last? And as we can see, we're going to need some longevity in resistance, right? And in that resistance, there must be rest. So when you're doing your organizing, when you're thinking about what to do, it has to have cycles. Maybe somebody's taking 2 hours, 3 hour shifts. Okay, somebody's nonstop at this office, somebody's nonstop over here, someone's in a training facility. But it's working in concert, in rhythm, and there is rest in between. Otherwise, you will not be able to outlast what is happening. Okay, there we go. The reframe I offer here is you don't need to deserve rest. You already do. You're the descendant of people who sang songs under moonlight, who paused at the new moon, who retreated into silence after harvesting. And we need to really think about that, right? And revisit some of the stories that we've been told and what we lost, right? Our ancestral stories. Even when you're talking about colonial Christianity, It has new moon ceremonies in there, right? It has harvest times in there. It tells you of the rest, the restoration of eating, of taking times out. All of the stories are still going to align with that rhythm. Nobody is saying to go out there and continuously nonstop work. You cannot consistently do that. Hey, Ash, you can't. You can't. No one can, right? When we first started this, what did we do? We did the 100 days of community and we were here every single day. Do you think that that was sustainable? Even if you enjoy it, it's not going to be sustainable. You're not going to be able to be there. I'm not. Not, you know what, man, let me talk about me. I can't. The Monday, Wednesday, Friday feels better in my soul. It allows me to prepare in between, allows me to think about some things, integrate, sit with stillness. I still take this time during the morning when I'm not being live on a Tuesday. And then I'm doing more writing, more downloading, more focusing, wonder where we're going. It's needed, right? The 100 days was intended for that. Like it was intended, we go hard right here, right now. This is what we're going to do. We're going to counteract all of that that's happening right now. We're going to show up for each other in community, and we're going to show each other what community looks like. I'm going to teach that to you. Okay, you got that? Great. Now let's maintain community. And that is what this looks like. Ashley says, I can't either. Yeah, I can't. I just can't. And there was a point in time where I felt guilty about that, right? Supremacy culture will give us that script for us to feel shame, for us to feel guilty. Everybody gets the same 24 hours. I hate that statement. That's another one of those thought terminating cliches. Time management is a myth. Right. Oh, well, you and Beyonce have 24 hours. Me and Beyonce do not have the same 24 hours. Okay. Like, I don't have any assistance in that sort of way. Things are not happening unless I'm doing certain things. So it's just not the same, right? And my 24 hours is not the same as somebody who is being impeded by not having arms. Okay. It's not the same 24 hours. On top of that, you're not talking about travel, sleep time, eating, and your work. So what do you have to actually manage, right? Maybe 4 hours out of the day. Ashley said, I'm trying to show up fully in my own day. And that's like the best that we could all do, right? And see how do if I'm showing up best in my own way, in my own day, that is me also showing up best for my community, right? Because I can be there. Do you need something? Oh, yeah, I could listen to you because I've taken that time to rest, to integrate, to do all of those things. So again, you don't need to deserve rest. You already do. You are the descendant of people who sang songs under moonlight, who paused at the new moon, who retreated into silence after harvesting. So I ask you to ask yourself, where did I first learn that rest had to be justified? What would it look like to remember rest as a birthright, not as a bonus, right? And often, too many of us hear that in childhood, right? This idea, like, idle hands are the devil's work and all of those like things. Like, I just want to sit down, right? Like, no rest for the wicked. All of the things that kind of come into play that you hear over and over again, that gets reaffirmed not only outside of your family system, but in a societal system, because then it's repeated and then inside of a system that demands things from you from school to work. So it's constantly affirmed in your life. You know what? I should not be resting. Yep. Time is money. That's a great one. And I'm like, time is not money, actually. Time is time. With all the money in the world, I can't buy no time. No time. Kavita said, I am lucky in my work that I could choose my hours. I usually have a siesta after lunch to rest. I love that. I think that, I think that's amazing. And I think that the Europeans, ironically, have rest on lock like, in a different sort of way overseas. Because even when I lived in England, I was like, oh, I liked the way the even the elementary school, right, primary school and stuff, followed more of our collegiate school schedules here, like a break every 6 weeks, right? So the summers wasn't so long, and you had time, and things were affordable to actually go on vacation. It made a lot more sense. I think that there's a better rhythm on that side of the pond than there is here. Kavita says, I hate feeling sleepy and tired after going. Yeah, we were called lazy, Dinah said. Yeah, lazy? I've reframed lazy. And when I think about being lazy, I think about a lazy Susan. I'm a visual person, right? Remember, do you know what a lazy Susan is? It's the thing that you have on a counter or in a cabinet, right? And like usually you put your spices on there because spices are so hard to get to because it's like a bunch of little things to move through. And the lazy Susan spins. And I was like, what an amazing concept. Like, and I'm like, that or a lazy river. Think about that, right? People love lazy rivers. So what's bad about being lazy? So when I think about I'm being lazy, I'm lazing about, I'm relaxing, I'm meandering, I'm moving slow. So that was the reframe that I did for myself. And the lazy Susan really like, I'm like, yeah, this is smart. Like this is ingenious. I don't want to scramble through my cabinet, my spice cabinet to look for things when I could just like spin it around with ease. I like ease and flow. I'm not really into things being too difficult. If it's too difficult, I don't want to deal with it. Dinah was like, yep, it spins around. Makes so much sense, right? So, two, rest interrupts supremacy script. The example I gave here is when schools over police Black children, ironically, for laziness or disengagement, or when employees are punished for taking time off for mental health, rest becomes coded as rebellion. These aren't just individual choices, they're collective resistance. I am someone who is super big about mental health days, and I will 100% call into the school and be like, kids are taking a mental health day. Does it still ding against me as, missed days of school? Absolutely. Am I on some type of probation for the kids next year because of so many absences? Yep, sure am. Will I continue to do so? Absolutely, right? Because we need that. And especially you're talking about these tiny little bodies, right? And I have the benefit of time privilege. My youngest is 6 years old. She has a full time job. School is a 40-hour work week, right? Then you start adding in cheerleading, baseball, things that she wants to do, which she does not have to do. I do not require um, those sorts of commitments. Once you make them, you have to honor them, but I don't require making them in the first place. That's a full-time job that my 7-year-old, 6-year-old, she's 6, has, right? And then that adds on to my workload, doesn't it? Right? Because I have to ensure she's there. I have to make sure that, she has all of the equipment and the things for it, yada, yada, yada. So everybody's inside of that, working together in concert, right? So we take rests, we take breaks. Like, no, maybe not today. I'm not feeling it. There's times where she's missed extracurricular activities because of that, because she's come home and she's fallen asleep. I'm gonna honor that. I'm gonna trust her body. You're a baby. You got plenty of time to show up in the world in a different, more strict way, if that is something that you choose, right? So the reframe I ask you to think about here is in a system that profits from exhaustion, rest is a refusal. It is the undoing of dehumanization. When we're thinking about the working until you die, stand by. I am bipolar. Ashley says, I am bipolar, medicated, and I'm fortunate to only have to work 30 hours to have insurance. However, I'm 50 and I'm an LMT massage therapist, and my body is getting tired. It's exhausting. It is exhausting, right? I try to help people like when I'm doing this, I'm like, you got to find ways to outsource not your body. Like it's just, we cannot keep selling our body for time. We really have to have a broader conversation about the sales of our bodies, right? We only equate that with sex work. And I'm like, every single one of us are selling our bodies for hours and time at work. If you have to show up with your body and put your body to work, you're selling your body. Like it's just I sit with that truth, right? And we have to find ways, and be it living in community, living smaller, intergenerational living, ways for people to not have to be individually selling their bodies in order to survive and barely doing that, right? With the rise of everything. And then in turn, that goes right into enslavement, right? When that commodification of Africans and their bodies for labor without any care to their humanity, their family systems, their structures, their language, or anything set the scene for this in this country. When people talk about, you know, 7.25 an hour or we demand $15 an hour. And I'm like, the bar is in hell, my friend. This country was literally built on free labor, right? Them paying you $15 an hour is killing them because it's a loss on a profit and loss sheet, right? When you look at it from a business angle and you're like, okay, assets, liabilities, and all of this sort of thing, paying you is a liability. So they're going to keep, okay, well, how do I recoup that liability? Okay, so we're going to extend the retirement ages and lessen the benefits that they get, right? So if we could keep them working longer, we could recoup the money of having to pay people at all. It's a business and it's a business strategy, right? So we have to start thinking strategically on how to combat that because we're tired. We're exhausted. And you will have done all of this work and then still can't keep the lights on. Still can't keep a roof over your head. So what is the end? There because for this, it's dehumanizing. The system was never meant to see any of us as humans. And it set the stage in enslavement. Right. And we are trying to get away from that little by little incrementally. But this is what that looks like is when enslavement was accepted and the commodification of bodies happened for free for nothing and we were able to look at people and say they are not people, that set the stage for what we are trying to move away from right now. All these years later. That is another reason why you can't turn around and say, well, it's slavery, get over it. No, every single thing in your life is touched by the enslavement of Africans in this land. Kavita said another one was idle hand makes for trouble. Yeah, something like that, right? Like, yeah, I heard that idle time is the devil's work, but it's the same premise. Yeah. Oh, so we've all heard it in one form or another. Idle hands are devil's playthings. That's just one translation. I lost sound again. Is it just me? Yep, just me. Okay, so you guys figured. Okay. I did not see any of that. So I was just here yapping, and you guys may not have even heard me. Dinah says, I have two friends. I'm trying to get them to retire. Both have health scares. Yeah. Right. And those two friends need to consolidate and move in together. Like, we have to be realistic. This is an insane world to be trying to go and do things individually. Right. And then when you have the supremacy script, it says you failed. Right. How are you 50? You worked your whole life and you can't keep a roof over your head because capitalism. It's a simple fucking answer. It's not, this is not rocket science. It is exhausting. It is killing us. It is impossible to survive. Listen, Kylie Jenner went viral for the Kylie Jenner tank top, right? And it's because her sister made a $48 version of a boy's tank top, right? What used to be and is still often called a wife beater, right? They are popular in the hood for the boys on the corner. They are popular in the trailer parks for the boys with the natty ice. Like, this is just what it is, right? And now we're going to see that she made a $48 replica of this. And so all of the white girls on TikTok and everywhere else in the sphere of the internet are now making a life hack. And they're like, look at these Hanes tank tops that you could buy four of them for $9. How long before those four tank tops become $20? Because they realize the demand. And how many can you buy then if you're still making the same hours with and the same amount of money? Maybe less hours because your body can't give anymore. And that goes across the board for every single thing on how that pricing is going to go. I'm going to buy I got to go buy like 10 packs now for next year before the price goes up and it gets insane because that is what's going to happen. And this happens over and over and over again in every single market. So it's not you failing. It is a system working as it was designed to dehumanize and commodify bodies. Susan says, yes, if we pooled our resources in families, communities, friends, it would free us, combat loneliness, etc. Yep. But we are conditioned not to do this. And that is why we are here doing the work to become deconditioned, reconditioned, whatever the word is, to be community oriented. Right. And I'm not saying have everybody in your house. I don't like people in my house. I don't want my kids in my house. I'm not that person, right? But like again, I'm gonna be showing you guys that with my own land, right? Like I cleared out the back area. I showed you guys, the RV will go back there forever. The other tiny humans, when they hit 13, they'll get some pull behind campers. And it's not going to be, opulent, but that's okay, right? They shamed you for poverty. They shamed you for your community style of living. They shamed us all for being in tribes and clans and loving and caring for each other, right? Those ignorant ass comments, well, if it wasn't for that's how I hear their voice. If it wasn't for colonization, you'd still be living in a mud hut. And I'm like, would I be in a fucking mud hut amongst 50 other of my people and we're all eating, gathering, singing, dancing? Sign me up for the mud hut. Because now I'm in a house where the taxes are choking me. Like, and I want to be in a mud hut dancing with my titties out. So you didn't save me, right? But that shame is there. And they want you to feel that way, right? Oh, well, your house is not big enough. Why? How could you, live in a trailer? But it was interesting for me when I started seeing tiny home communities. I was like, did you just fucking gentrify a trailer park? I'm like, because you made fun of the poor whites. They were all kinds of white trash and trailer trash. But now that you slap an $80,000 ticket onto these little tiny homes, it's fashionable, right? We need to really start thinking about things and releasing these scripts and these constructs and learning how to sit with what's true to you. What's true for you? What's true for me is I don't enjoy living with people. I'm a parallel person, right? Can we be alone together? I love that. I love that in my life. I love that with my family, my friends, my lovers, all of that. I do not want to be consumed by you. You do not need to be consumed by me. We should be so okay with that, right? I could literally have people living tents in my backyard. Just don't invade my space, right? That's true for me. I'm not bothered by what the world would say. Oh, this is trashy. Okay. I have a belt buckle that says white trash. I'm proud. I don't know what to tell you. So you have to find out what's true for you and release that shame, that script that people are going to give you. And yes, I think more friends. Remember how cool it was for the Golden Girls? Reframe it like that. Everybody thought that was cool. That was economical. Dorothy moved her mother in with her two friends. They didn't even know each other. Do you guys know the backstory to Golden Girls? They weren't like lifelong friends. That's not the backstory. Look up the backstory to Golden Girls, but they were smart and they're like, this is what we're gonna be doing. And Dorothy's mom didn't always live there, right? But they got communal and it made sense. And they were not lonely and they had so much fun together. And the premise of that is absolutely beautiful. And we need more than that. We need to be doing more of that. Tiffany says, yep, my husband hasn't had a raise in 15 years and I'm self employed, so no raises for me. Exactly. But the price of everything is going up. Exactly. So nothing is changing. Nothing is changing. So if nothing is changing, it damn sure better be us. We need to figure out how to make money go in a different sort of way. Ashley says, my husband is disabled, bipolar catatonia. But before the catatonia, he was a successful white collar worker. His best friend lives with us and takes care of us so much. It matters. Thank you. That is delicious. I've had so many friends come and stay with me, and I don't feel like a savior. I feel like everybody should have a moment, a reprieve, right? Of care, of ability to catch their breath. Right, like I'm the a friend of mine was over here the other day. It was like he was like it's the in between spaces, right? The in between here and there is what that feels like, and I'm like I love that. I'm good with that, right? It also jives with my I don't want to see somebody all the time energy and just that beauty over the years of people having always been able to stay in a space where I'm at intermittently has always benefited me. From my first divorce to now, I've always had a roommate of some sort. And for my own safety, it's always been, I will say, well, it has been my initial place, but it's always been a space where others can come in. And join in, right? And offer and give and take. And I've always survived and that thrived. Right? I could survive on my own, but I've always thrived in spaces where community is happening. Pedro says we need to create a new economy based on true values. I agree. Ashley says it matters to have a village. It does. And we do need to build that sort of economy, right? Because that is we've been so conditioned under capitalism, we forget that we are our own economy, right? The money that we're making if we pull together, like I've been talking about land and that sort of stuff. And I'm like, if five of us bought together, What would that look like? Right? What would that look like? If we got some unrestricted land and we could park RVs and like we gotta get smaller again. We have to be okay with it not looking like, oh, well, we got a 15, bedroom house. I don't need that many bedrooms. I just don't. I don't. And what would that look like? All right, so listen, I'm over my time. You guys keep letting me chat. All right, listen. So the reframe for number two, we still have to go to three, is in a system that profits from exhaustion, rest is refusal. It is the undoing of dehumanization. So I want you to ask yourself, where is my exhaustion serving someone else's comfort or control? What small act of rest would disrupt that dynamic today? Take care, Ashley. I'll see you on Wednesday. Right? Small. It could be a small act. I'm not saying take the whole day off. I know how impossible that could be underneath these certain systems, but there is something that you could say no to. There is something that you could say yes to. Figure out those two things for today. What can you say no to and what can you say yes to? And let your yes be something for you that's restorative. Three, sacred stillness creates space for spirit. I gave the example of Jesus because we went back to God will not give you more than he could bear. And even Christ crying out, right? Asking, why hast thou forsaken me? Even Jesus rested. Even the earth cycles into stillness. And yet many of us equate stillness with stagnation. The irony is the deepest revelations, the kind that root and heal us, often come in the pause, right? The in between there. When you can stop, when you can ask, what's next? What's now? What has been? The reframe that I offer here is stillness isn't avoidance. It's where spirit speaks the loudest, right? When you're sitting out and you're in nature and you're communing, the reason why it feels so good to do that, there's people all around. You can go to a park and it could be full with people. But when you are sitting in under that tree, next to that tree, what have you, hugging that tree, there is a communing that is happening with you and nature, a stillness, a sacred quiet where everything else can fall away and you exist in that moment deeply, then you become nature again, right? You return to your true nature self. That is important in this work. So the reflection prompt I offer you is when I pause, what arises that I would usually avoid? What would it mean to honor that message instead of rushing past it? Right. When we're moving about and we're rushing for capitalism and you hear something, you feel something, and you just have to keep pushing. Supremacy keeps pushing us, right? Oh, you're sick. It doesn't matter. You got to go to work. No time off. No rest for the weary, wicked, all of the things. When you have to just keep pushing, you don't have time to listen to yourself, to hear the messages from spirit, from ancestors, from your own body, your own downloads. So when you are intentional about that rest, about that shift, right? When I shut this down and I just sit, right now I can't hear all of the things, right? I can hear what's happening. But when I sit, when I turn this off and I just sit for a moment and breathe in, I can get a different kind of quiet. I can get a different sort of intimacy with myself. That is important. You cannot be out here having these relationships with others and you don't have a deep, intimate relationship with yourself. Get more quiet, get more still. Use your rest as a rebellion, especially underneath these dire times that we're in. Okay. That is the end of our message for today. I'm going to recap it because we are over time, but I'm thankful that you guys always give me that space to carry on. Three things. Rest as rebellion, right? So this is about permission to pause. One, rest is not earned, it is inherited. Two, rest interrupts supremacy script. Three, sacred stillness creates space for spirit. Pedro says stillness is the womb and cradle for all true action. God, I love your words. From it emerges stillness in motion. It is the doing that comes from non-doing. Amen and ashe. Because correct. I do a lot of not doing in order to do a lot of doing. People often wonder, how do you do so much? Because I make as much time to do nothing. And I am very thankful for the time flow that I have, right? I can get up at 3 o'clock in the morning, download a whole bunch of things. Everybody's sleeping. The house is completely quiet. And I'm just like, type, 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 right. And it all makes sense and it all flows. And I will go back to sleep for an hour, get back up, and then start the day on the other things that I need to do. Right. So I have that. But I want us to all find what that rhythm looks like, right? For you. Where? Where can you just take a pause? That's what I'm asking for today. All right. That's time. I love you guys. I mean it. On Wednesday, we will be back. Let's see what we are chatting about on Wednesday. Saying no without a thesis statement. Okay. No is a complete sentence, is what we will be talking about on Wednesday. Okay. And today, I want you to find what you could say yes to and what you could say no to. That could be your small act. Again, I'm not saying say F it and, quit your job and go live on a beach. I am saying, what can you say no to? And what could you say yes to? Start there. Okay. Let me see. Pedro says stillness, the Genesis power that the creation story seeks to articulate. Yes. All right. I'm out of here. See you guys Wednesday. Have an amazing day. I hope it's deeply restful, even if it's 5 minutes. Choose you.